Hello again. Holy cow, the last video I uploaded brought in a ton of subscriptions, so that's awesome. So anyway, as most people know, the Lies of P Overture DLC has released, and most people really like it. I finished it on day 2 of playing it, and now I'm in the middle of my second DLC run, and occasionally I'll take a break by doing some boss rematches. I am really glad they put that into this new update. I've wanted that for a long time. What I want to discuss a bit now is just some additions or some criticisms I have. This new update, with it adding difficulty settings, crazy enough, the game actually isn't easier. It's still pretty hard. Unfortunately, it's just changed the numbers, which is what I was worried would happen with it. Easy mode is still pretty hard. As I said before, most of the game's difficulty is baked into the gameplay. You had summons to make the game easier. They were useful as distractions or maybe upping the damage on bosses. You had throwables, and that made it easier to do some damage while lowering the risk since you can maintain some distance. But the real difficulty in these games is the moveset and the fast reaction time that the game demands from the player, and that becomes more significant when defending against a Fury attack. I really wish they designed the difficulty modes with more intent behind them. I find numbers to be a very boring way of changing the difficulty, and this goes both ways too, which actually kind of leads me to another issue I encountered. Some enemies can sometimes just stun lock you. There's one enemy that uses fire, and it's a combo, and if this first hit of the combo gets you, you're basically done. And this is with 50 HP. I criticize From Software a lot on these things because what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that difficulty is not the same thing as the punishment factor. A lot of these enemies aren't really too difficult to where it's unmanageable, but there's some sort of trade-off where it seems that if you screw up once, you just lose. It became very apparent too when I tried fighting Parade Master on difficulty 5. I just got one shot by him. Now this isn't really that big of a deal. I wanted boss refights or reruns, rematches, and I got them. And that is absolutely a major plus to this update. It's just that when I got one shot by the first boss in the game, I just knew that I won't be playing any of these bosses on a higher difficulty because it doesn't really make them difficult, doesn't make them harder, it just makes them more punishing. Parade Master isn't a hard boss at all, he's quite easy, but oops, I got hit once and boom, I'm dead. I just don't think this kind of difficulty is very fun. This is like playing Guitar Hero on medium difficulty, pretty manageable. But oops, I missed the note, and now the entire song has failed. I just would have much preferred if the difficulty increases actually changed the movesets, kind of like you see in the inner bosses on Sekiro, Inner Ishin and Inner Genichiro. They are a harder version of the boss because they extend their moveset, not because of the damage numbers. But again, having these options is better than nothing, and I know other players out there will appreciate them. The next thing that is a bit unfortunate about the DLC is that a few bosses are very spongy, and they come across more as a tedious endurance test than a fun boss fight that doesn't outstay its welcome. This isn't to be confused with the bosses being bad, they're not. I think the boss design is actually pretty good in the DLC. They are harder, as we all by now should probably expect with DLCs for Souls games. Their movesets are pretty well designed, and aesthetically, they really are designed with a vision in mind. Aside from the final boss, I didn't lose to any of them more than 10 times, unless we're talking about the stalker fights. Now, I don't really want to show them because I think they should be experienced with fresh eyes just because they are kind of story related. But with one of them, I noticed a pattern that looked a bit familiar and it started to hit me more often afterward. There are a lot of reused enemies. The only thing different is that the character model could be different or the weapon model could be different. And that seems to have bled in with the moveset of this particular stalker fight. Now I need to make sure I am clear on this. Their moveset is not entirely the same. It mostly is different. It's just that some of it seems to have been taken from the final boss of the base game. This is kind of a double-edged sword to me. I can see the use of some of these enemies because of the lore. I can see the use of some of these enemies because it provides a bit of comfortable familiarity for the player. But for me personally, I think I would have much preferred different enemies altogether. And there are entirely new enemies, don't get me wrong. I just think that I would have preferred all the enemies to be new. I think what they were going for with this was giving the player something new while also not making them feel overwhelmed with too many new movesets. It's hard to really say if this is a negative or positive. Like I said, to me it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but I still find it significant enough to mention. Another slight issue is that there are a ton of ambushes. I understand the ambushes are part of Souls games, but man, they are excessive. And it becomes most apparent when in Zone 2 of the DLC. It just seems that around every corner there is an ambush. It started to make me so hyper-vigilant in the game that it actually kind of disrupted the pacing. And when I fell for yet another one, it started to just become eye-rolling. I just think that the ambushes overall should have been more spaced apart because they were quite frequent in Chapter 2 of the DLC. There's also a small area that starts to become very obnoxious. It's a very small part of the DLC as a whole, but it is noticeably aggravating. You have recycled enemies from the base game that deal more damage and take more damage. Of course, you gotta have dogs. And sub-elite enemies that are tossing homing rocks at you. This area reminded me of Lords of the Fallen quite a bit, where its form of difficulty was to just be fighting multiple enemies that are annoying, while one goober that you can't reach is hitting you with projectiles. And he's off screen, so you don't know when the projectiles are even coming at you. There's also a unique mini-boss enemy in this area that is, unfortunately, another recycled enemy with a couple new moves. Now, these are just some of the criticisms I have for the DLC. It really is just more Liza P. New movesets, new bosses, new music, new scenery, new challenges to overcome. The story is great. It's filled with grief, joy, despair, hope, adventure, of course. It has a lasting impact on you just like the base game did. I think most people will enjoy this DLC. I know by the end of it, I felt a bit more fulfilled learning more about the story. And some good news is that G1, the game's director, put out a response mentioning some issues with the difficulty that he's hoping to fix. So maybe some of the issues that I'm mentioning in this video, they might not even be a problem down the road. I do hope, if possible, I would love to have the DLC's theme as a record in the game, and also have the new music added onto Spotify like the base game soundtrack is. That might be asking for too much, but I always tell people about the music on this game because of how good it is. These are some of my thoughts on the DLC. There are some things I think could be better, but overall, like I said, just more Liza P, and I had a pretty good time playing it. I'm not making this video to trash the DLC at all because it adds some awesome stuff to it. I simply made it specifically to focus on the parts that I am not a fan of, or things that I think could be made better. Lastly, I just want to mention again that I am thankful for the sudden amount of people that subscribe. This channel was just meant to be a low effort, talk about anything I want to talk about type of channel, and it still will be that. Video games will just be a common topic discussed among other things. But that's all I want to say for now. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.